Welcome to another crochet tutorial with Cozy Rosie UK. Today I'm going to be showing you how to crochet this super cute... Welcome to another crochet tutorial with Cozy Rosie UK. Today I'm showing you how to crochet this cozy Christmas tree coaster. This beautiful coaster uses the mini bean stitch to create lots of lovely texture, and then we're going to work in the different colours using a combined instarsia and tapestry crochet way of crocheting. I'll take you through all step by step how we're going to weave in the ends, all the way through to how we change colours so that we don't see very much colour coming through from the other shades. Before we get started, don't forget to hit that notification bell and of course the subscribe button, because you never want to miss out on another crochet tutorial again. So material wise, what we're going to need is some chunky weight yarn or bulky weight yarn. So this is, I think, a size 4 yarn, and the corresponding hook size, which is a 6mm crochet hook. I have 3 colours. I have pistachio from Paintbox Yarns, a creamy colour because I like a light coloured tree, and of course we have some brown. And I think, off the top of my head, because this is literally just some scrap yarn that I've got left over, I think this is soft fudge, but it might be the shade darker. So sorry, I can't confirm that at the moment. I will check that and pop it in the description for you as well. And because I'm feeling festive, I have my Furls Peppermint Swirl 6mm crochet hook. It is a 6mm, I promise. Yes, there you go. And we're going to use all of these materials alongside, of course, a darning needle to weave in these ends. You are going to need a pair of scissors as well. So gather all of those materials and we're going to get started. I'm going to make the same colorway as this. So we're going to start with the main color, which in my case is the paper white. So if you're doing this in reverse or negative version, you can start, whichever color you start with is going to be your main color here. So let's move that out of the way for a moment. So very simply, to start this project, we're going to make a chain of 19. So we make a slip knot and place that onto our hook before chaining 19. 2, 3. Okay, so that's my chain of 19. And we're going to start straight away by making the mini bean stitch. This is also known as the Elizabeth stitch. So if you're familiar with it, you know what to do. But if you're not familiar with it, I'm going to take you through step by step how to make this stitch. So we're going to start by working into the 3rd chain from hook. Remember, this one doesn't count. We've got 1, 2 and 3. So to make the mini bean stitch, we insert the hook, yarn over to bring a loop up, yarn over and reinsert the hook into the same chain and bring a 4th loop up onto your hook. We're then going to yarn over and pull through all 4 loops before chaining 1, and that's the complete stitch. Because we've chained 1, we're going to skip that next stitch and work our next mini bean stitch into the next chain along. So we skip 1 chain, work into the next. So we insert the hook, yarn over to bring a loop up, yarn over the hook, reinsert your hook into the same chain, bring a loop up so you have 4 loops on your hook, then yarn over and pull through all 4 loops. If, like me, you're struggling to get your hook through all of those, pull down gently on your work and it will go through a little bit easier, and just chain 1 to complete the stitch. So we're going to repeat that the whole way down this chain. So we'll do a few more together, because we're going to skip the next chain, and then, so we're not into that one, we're going to insert our hook into the 2nd chain along, bring our 1st loop up, yarn over the hook, reinsert and bring up our 4th loop, yarn over and pull through all 4 loops and chain 1 to complete. Skip the next chain, insert our hook into the next one, yarn over, reinsert to bring up our 4th loop, then yarn over to pull through all 4 loops and finish that stitch with a chain 1. So skip 1, insert your hook, bring a loop up, yarn over the hook before inserting it again, yarn over to bring a loop up, and then pull through all 4 loops and finish with a chain 1. So continue to repeat that all the way down your chain into each, well, remembering to skip those ones in between, and we should end with 9 mini bean stitches across our starting chain. There we are, so that's my last one. Oops. And we're going to chain 1 to finish that one. So we have 1, let's place that down so you can see what I'm actually counting. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9 mini bean stitches. Don't worry if it looks a bit holy, we are going to fill those holes in. So we're going to chain 1 before we turn our work, and that's us ready to start row 2. So if you look at the stitch itself, there's a little hole next to it and then a big hole. We want to work into this hole next to the mini kind of puff. So we want to leave this hole, but we're going to work into this one, which is directly underneath the 2 lines of your stitch effectively. So from here, we've done our chain 1 at the end of the row and a chain 1 to start the row. We're going to insert the hook into the space closest to the puff, yarn over, bring a loop up, yarn over to reinsert the hook, and then pull through all 4 loops. And that's the same for every single stitch across. In row 2, we are going to introduce the next colour. So the first thing we're going to do is to mini bean into the first 4 stitches. So that's number 1. I'm going to bean into the next stitch for number 2, remembering to chain 1 in between. Number 3, chain 1, and then for number 4 we're going to work the main part of the stitch, but before we chain 1 we're going to change to our contrasting colour. So in my case, my contrasting colour is of course the pistachio colour, and I threw that over there and now I can't see the end. There it is. So very simply, to change colour, we haven't done our chain 1. We just place the yarn over the hook and bring it through. And to tighten this loop, we're just going to pull down on the main colour, and then we're going to work over these ends. So we still need to complete this last stitch. So we do our chain 1, which of course secures our colour in place. And we're working into this next bean stitch here. I'm going to drop that over there. So we're inserting the hook into the next bean, which is there. We're going to work over our main colour. And this is why it becomes a combination of tapestry and instarsia. With tapestry crochet, you work over your colours, but with instarsia, we only pick up the colour when we need it. So for when we're using the contrasting colour, we're going to work our mini bean stitch, just 1 in this new colour, by completing the bean, but then we're going to drop our contrasting colour and pick up our main colour again and complete the stitch. We can pull down on that contrast colour to secure, and then chain 1 with our main colour. We're then going to continue the rest of the row. We're not working over that contrasting colour. We're just going to complete the remaining bean stitches in our main colour. Remembering to chain 1, of course. So we should still have the same number of stitches at the end of this row. So at the end you'll find there's your last stitch, and your chain 2 that we left unworked we're going to leave as it is. It's just going to create a nice edge to our project. So chain 1 to complete row 2, and it should look a little something like that. Not very exciting, is it? I assure you it'll look a lot better as we finish. So chain 1 to start row 3, and in row 3 we're going to work the first 3 stitches in our main colour using the mini bean stitch again. So that's 1, 2, did I chain 1 there? I did not. See how important it is to chain 1. So that's number 1 with a chain 1, number 2 with a chain 1. With number 3, we're not going to do our chain 1 in our main colour. We're going to drop our main colour, bring it forwards towards you, and then you want to pick up, not the tail, the working yarn of your contrasting colour and bring it through. We're going to pull down on the main colour to secure and then chain 1 with your contrasting colour, and we're going to work into this bean here. You need to place your main colour over the top, so we're working over both these extra strands, and we're still inserting our hook into this stitch here. So we insert the hook, complete our mini bean stitch as before with a chain 1, and then we're going to do a second one in our contrasting colour, but before we chain 1 we're going to change back again to our main colour. So as you can see, I've dropped my contrasting colour to the back, and I'm going to chain 1, making sure that the white isn't poking out on the other side, and just pulling down on the contrasting colour before chaining 1. Don't want to work over that, pull that out of the way. So now our contrasting colour is at the back of our project and out of the way as we continue to work the remaining bean stitches in our main colour. So work a mini bean stitch into the remaining stitches along until you reach the end. If you're not sure if you've got another one to work on, remember just to count your beans. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So we don't need to work into here, it will make it a bit longer and we don't want that. So chain 1 to complete row 3. Doesn't look like a Christmas tree yet, does it? Let's go into row 4. We start by chaining 1, and on this row we're going to work 3 mini beans in the contrasting colour. So we work the first 3 stitches in our main colour. So that's 1, 2 and 3. But before we chain 1 in our contrasting colour, we bring our main colour to the front, loop our contrast colour over the top and just secure that with your main colour and chain 1 to secure. We're going to work into this stitch that we're crossing over, making sure that we work over the top or underneath our main colour as well. So we've got the cross where we've picked up our colour. We're going to place our working colour, our main colour, sorry, over the top, and then go in underneath to work the first contrasting colour mini bean. Chain 1, and pull that a little bit. There's our next stitch to work our contrasting colour in. And each time I'm working over my main colour too. So this is number 3. This is the last contrasting colour mini bean we're going to do. So before we chain 1, put your contrasting colour to the back, pick up your main colour, just pull on that gently to secure, and then chain 1 to complete that stitch. We're then going to do the remaining mini bean stitches in our main colour again. Oh no, that was not a bean stitch, was it? Making sure that we chain 1 in between. Got one more to do. Remember, you can check your bean count at the end if you want to double check. So you can see we're starting to get our tree shape there. Make sure you've chained 1. We're going to chain 1 to turn our work, and we are going into, I need to check what number we're on now, 5. 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we're in row 5 already. So for row 5, we're going to bean stitch into the first 2 stitches with our main colour. And then we change to our contrast colour again. So we don't complete our chain 1. We bring our main colour forward, loop our contrasting colour over the top, making sure there's a bit of slack there. Pull down on your main colour to secure it, and then we're going to work over these again by working into that next stitch. So on this row we're going to place 4 mini bean stitches in our contrasting colour. Working over that main colour at the same time. So this is our last mini bean colour in the contrast. So we're not going to complete the chain 1. Put your main colour to the back, pick up, your contrast colour to the back, pick up your main colour, chain 1 to secure, and then you just complete the remainder of the row in your main colour with your contrasting colour at the back. So there's only 2 more to do in our main colour there. So chain 1 to finish that row. Okay, going into row 6 already. So for row 6, this time we only do, we're going to do 2 mini bean stitches again. So that's 1 in our main colour. I feel like there is some, there we are, I just need to pull that in. There we go. A main colour again. But of course we're not going to chain 1 in our main colour. We're going to change to our contrast colour. Oops, wrong side. Bring your main colour to the front. There we go. Pull down on your main colour to secure. Okay, hang on. What have we done here? I've missed a whole stitch. Jesus. Oh, rewind back to changing. Make 3. So we're going to chain 1 in our main colour, dropping our contrasting colour to the back, and then we work in the remaining stitches along to complete this row. So there's 3 more left to do. Oh, forgot to chain 1. There we go. So we've still got 9 stitches, which is what we want, which is good. So chain 1 to turn to begin row 6 already, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we're in row 6. So for row 6, we're going to mini bean stitch in our main colour, just in the first 2 stitches this time. Of course, because we're changing colour, we're not going to complete that chain 1. Bring your main yarn to the front of your work, main colour, sorry. Pick up your contrasting yarn, pull down to tighten that in, and then chain 1 in your contrasting colour. Make sure that your main colour is ready to work over, and then complete your contrasting mini bean. So with the contrasting beans, this time we're going to do 5, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, there we go, 4 and number 5. Make sure you chain 1. I'm terrible for missing those little chain ones. Okay, I don't know, there we are. Okay, so because we're on our last contrast mini bean, we drop our colour to the back, pick up our main colour and just secure that down and do our chain 1 in our main colour. before finishing off the row with 2 more mini bean stitches in our main colour. You can really start to see that Christmas tree shape. Obviously it's upside down, it's that way around. So going into row 7, we're going to chain 1. This time we're only going to do our mini bean stitch in the first stitch. So we're not going to chain 1. Straight away we're going to change, bring our main colour to the front, change to your contrasting colour and secure with a chain 1, working over your contrast colour line there, and of course picking up your main colour to work over. So on this row we're going to do 6 mini bean stitches in total in our contrasting colour. So that's 3, 4, and number 5. Oh, did I chain 1? Oh, I did. Good, good. Number 5. Oh dear, get myself confuddled now. Number 5, there we go. And number 6. So after number 6 we're going to change back, so we're not going to complete that chain 1. Pop your contrast colour to the back, pick up your main and chain 1. Just pull down on your contrasting colour there and complete the row. We have 2 mini beans remaining that we're going to do in our main colour. So you should still have 9 mini bean stitches across in total. So row 8, chain 1 and turn. And in this row, again, just that first stitch is the mini bean, so we're not going to chain 1. We're going to change into our contrast. If I find my hook, there we are, a contrast colour. There we go. Pull down on the main colour to, oh, I did that the wrong way round. I like to bring my main colour to the front. Let's check I've just split that yarn as well. I'm going to start that row again. Sorry, my yarn split. So I'm going to work my first mini bean stitch. Before chaining 1, I'm going to bring my main yarn forward and change to my contrast, making sure my main colour goes over the top. And then I'm going to chain 1 before working into that next stitch over or under all of those contrasting colours. So in row 7, we're going to, sorry, row 8, sorry, we're going to do 7 mini bean stitches in our contrasting colour. I don't know why I keep doing a single crochet. There we go. Making sure that we're carrying that main yarn again because we're going to need it at the end. Go, come on, yarn's tight, sorry about that. So that's number 6, this is number 7. Again, we don't complete, we just drop that colour behind, pick up our main colour, little chain 1, pull that all in nice and neat. Make sure there's nothing poking out the back. Oh, so this is why I always double check, because I thought that was a bit loose. So just before I change, hang on, pop that back on my hook. So as you can see, my white's poking out ever so slightly there. Just before I change, just going to give that a gentle tug, and it will allow me to not have that poking through at the back. So I'm going to change to my main colour, chain 1, ready to work just 1 little bean in our main colour. Now we are actually finished with our contrasting colour. So what we're going to do is chain 1 and go into row 9. Now row 9 we are going to need your brown. So I'm just going to snip a long tail for my contrast colour so I can weave that in later. If you're not confident, you can leave that attached for now, but I'm pretty sure I've done that right. So for row 9, we're going to initially work the first 3 stitches in our main colour. So that's 1, 2, and 3. We're not going to complete that stitch. We're going to add in our contrasting colour before we chain 1. So I'm just going to place it over my hook, bring it through, pull down on the main yarn to kind of secure that a little bit, and then tighten that loop before I do my chain 1. We're going to work 2 mini bean stitches in the brown, and I'm going to work over my main yarn and the tail to save a little bit of weaving in later. There we go, chain 1, I'll pull that a little bit tighter, there we go. And then number 2. And then we're going to drop the contrasting colour, in this case brown, and change back to our main colour. Pull on the working yarn just to secure. I'm not going to work over that anymore because it's going to be visible against the green. So we're going to work the remaining stitches in our main colour. This is going to create a little pot, or it's probably not a pot really, is it? But it's a stem for our, that did not work here, stem for our Christmas tree to sit in. This is our last mini bean in the main colour for row 9. Going into row 10, we chain 1 and turn, and we're going to work a mini bean stitch into the first 4 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're not going to chain 1, we're just going to bring our main yarn towards us, pick up our contrasting colour, just pull down on that main colour to tighten that loop, chain 1, and we're just going to work 1 mini bean stitch in to our first bean here. Oops. There we go. Can't see, there we go. With just 1 mini bean stitch into here. We're not going to chain 1, we're going to change straight back to our main colour. Pull down on that contrasting colour to really get that nice and secure, and you can drop that colour to the back. We're going to continue to work the remainder of this row in our main colour. Again, we should still have 9 mini beans at the end of this row. Chain 1, and we're in our final row, row 11, which is the nice and easy one, just as it was for the beginning. We're just going to work a mini bean stitch into each stitch across. No colour changes on this one, you'll be happy to know. Number 7, 8, and the final one, number 9. Try to make that bigger there, number 9. There we go. So at the end of row 9 and you've done your chain 1, you can fasten off a tail and just bring your hook through to create a little knot to secure your project. And I'm going to trim the brown end as well, and that should disconnect us from all those balls of yarn. So your square is probably looking a little bit something like that, probably not very square right now either, but on one side it's going to look like a perfect Christmas tree. So to finish this off, we are going to need to weave these ends in, and we need to be a little bit careful with them. So I'm going to start with my brown colour because I want to reinsert it into these stitches without it really showing. So I'm going to weave underneath these loops without undoing the stitch. You're kind of going through it, through the stitch itself, and bringing that needle through. You don't have to pull tightly when you're weaving these in. Just make sure that you're burying that into the stitches you've already worked. And I always recommend the power of 3. So at least weave in and out at least 3 times through your stitches to secure. Once you've done that, you can snip that end off close to the edge of your yarn and then turn over and do the same on the other side. So we're just going to again weave in and out 3 times. One. I don't need that one, thank you. Oh, goodness me, so many ends. 1. Oh. 2. And 3. There we go. Again, we can just snip that one off. Good, good, good. All the other ends are on the other side, which is quite useful. So it's a case of just weaving them through the corresponding stitch colours, because that way they won't be quite as obvious. So with this one, these ones are a lot easier. You can just go underneath the loops as you go through. And it'll actually help to cover up any of the white or contrasting colour that might be showing. So again, we're going to do that 3 different backwards and forwards 3 times. There we go. That's 2. One final time. There we go. And that's 3. So once you're happy that that's secure and it's not likely to come out on its own, you don't need to be pulling tightly because that will change the shape of the stitches. You can just snip that out of the way. And just repeat that with all of the tails that you have. Just make sure that they are all woven in and secured. It's not the easiest thing to do, and it takes a bit of practice to feel confident that you're not going to see these little guys again. But it's like everything, it's a skill that's a useful one to have. That's 1. Two, and one more time just for good measure. There we go. And 3. Just needs to be snug, doesn't need to be tight as such. And that leaves us with our starting and end tails. And I would kind of recommend just weaving those in down the side of your coaster to give it a little bit more security. I was going to do a South Park accent there, but I shall not. Showing my age. got one more to go, and our beautiful little project is complete. So what you will find is, if I tell you where this to go and get this while I'm finishing off this last end, you will find there is a colour chart on the blog post that I've linked in the description box below that you can use to follow. Once you're confident with the crochet pattern itself, of course you can do it in any colours you like, but you can choose to reverse the colours. I'll show you that in a moment. Let's weave that one in. There we go. One complete Christmas tree coaster. Isn't it beautiful? So festive. So there is a colour chart, so you can reverse the colours so that it's almost like a negative effect. So you've got a white tree on a green background, etc. You can get a printable version of the colour chart and of course the crochet pattern itself. They are both available on the website. You can also get a printable version on my Etsy or Ravelry shop, or as part of the Full Bloom membership as well, where you get all of my crochet patterns for £5 a month. I hope you've enjoyed this crochet pattern, and of course let me know if you do make yourself some beautiful Christmas tree coasters. They make great gifts, especially if you're gifting a mug. Just pop one of those inside the mug as well. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope to see you again very soon for another crochet pattern tutorial or a stitch tutorial with Cozy Rosie UK.